Welcome to another edition of Dream Firm Leader Interview. My name is Tyler S. Clark, co-founder of Dream Firms, where we create generational wealth and impact for people just like the individual that I am about to introduce to you. And introducing to you the EA who's saving his clients time and money all day, a man who's followed in the steps of his father to continue the legacy of a family-run accounting firm and has now forged his own path to his dream firm, the leader of a firm with over 70 years of experience, but is finding all new ways to capture revenue and express their firm's values. Join me in welcoming you, the dream firm leader who's showing tradesmen the trade of profitability, the baseball fanatic, the tax savior of Pittsburgh, the dream firm leader of Rossetti Tax and Accounting, the one, the only, Craig Rossetti. Craig, how are you doing today?
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for that great introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to doing this with you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for accepting the interview request. You've got a really cool story to share. You've been a client of ours for quite some time. But before we talk about your experience, I always like to make sure that the audience understands a little bit more about your journey, when you got started. I mentioned in the opener that this is really a bit of a family dynamic. So if you could just bring us back to the beginning of your accounting career and just walk us through what made you say, you know what, I'm going to pursue this.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. I didn't intend to go this path, but it's just the way it happens sometimes. I graduated from college, was looking what to do. I was working some jobs in accounting, and I enjoyed that, but I really wanted to be on my own. And I'm just a weird person that loves to prepare taxes, and I started working with my father. So this will be our 25th tax season for me coming up. Eventually we got I worked part-time with it and eventually went full-time in 2001. And it's been a great honor to work with my father all these years, and it's just so rewarding, and I'm enjoying it, and getting to do what I love to do. And really, I guess all my life I've been in it. I was a kid, and my father would pay me a quarter to put check stubs in order so he could post it for his clients' bookkeeping, and it goes back a long way. So working on your own firm is you get a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So, but it's been a dream come true. So.
That's fantastic. And there might have been some child labor laws to protect you from your father's brutal practices. Only a quarter for that level of work? Come on now.
That was a long time ago. Quarter was a lot of money back then.
I'm obviously messing around, but no, I mean,
yeah.
I've always loved the idea of, the family, the legacy, the piece that we get to pass something that is valuable along to not only just our clients, but potentially to our children. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, Craig and I share this particular experience in many respects. My grandfather ran an accounting firm. My father worked for him. My father then launched his consulting firm. I worked for my father in the consulting firm. And then my father launched an accounting firm. I worked in the accounting firm as well. So there are some benefits and there are some drawbacks to those dynamics. And for people out there that are engaged in family affairs, whether it's father-daughter, father-son, could you provide any insights, Craig, into what has led to a successful working relationship with your father?
It's a tough dynamic sometimes, but usually it's rewarding. If there's any hiccups, you just got to deal with it, straightforward and honest. Say, hey, this is working or this isn't working. And as the child, sometimes you tend to lose arguments. I've had a couple instances where I've said, oh, I don't want to take on this client, and I've lost out on that, but that's part of the deal. But overall, it's so much rewarding, in the long run. So it's not a hurdle to me, I guess others depends on their own family dynamics as to whether it be an issue. But back and forth, we have a give and take and a mutual respect, and that seems to be the focus of anything if there's ever any issues. But usually we're on the same page. He's trained me well, so that's good.
That's excellent. It's a great way to be. And, I think that whether it's your father, whether it's your son, whether it's someone you're not related to, I'm just a big fan of, we always have to check our egos at the door. Either it's working or it's not. We have to be willing to let the managing, the owner ultimately make the decision, and respect and support those decisions. Sometimes it's a little harder when it's your father, because you feel a little bit closer and maybe able to impact or shift that decision. At least that's the way it was for me. And I know that sometimes he was 100% right. Sometimes I was 100% right, but we always want to do what's best for the firm. And I get the sense that your relationship with your father works very similarly.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, as long as we're providing good service to the clients, and that's all that matters.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more about the type of work that you do and the type of clients that you service. I know you made the joke about, I love to do taxes and, that, but I know that there's more to your firm in terms of the services you provide and really who you're looking to provide them to. So if you could provide just a little bit of insight into, again, that service value proposition that you have, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we do the accounting work, the bookkeeping work for small business clients. We do payroll as well, and obviously the tax preparation that goes along with that, and then the tax planning as well. Our business clients, they tend to be on the smaller side. They're just mostly closely held. And if they have a couple owners, a lot of times they're family run as well. So that is a common theme that we get along with. So the size is usually they don't have employees more than 25. So it's kind of the size that we work with. And then the clients that we do tax only work for, and it's really quite a range. I get some of the simplest returns you can think of, and then we get some more complicated returns. So in my mind, in my eyes, it's a nice mix to where I'm not doing the same thing every day, and no boredom, and even the businesses that we deal with, there's a nice variety. So I know when I was trying to pick a niche, I said, I like this industry, work well with that. And there's a few that I don't like to work with, but obviously avoided that. So it's been a good experience getting to meet a lot of different people in the different industries.
Yeah, and that's very common for people when they first start to work with us, especially when they have 2 decades plus of experience running a firm under their belt. They normally take all comers, right? And I'm glad that you've had great experiences, and that gives you a good base to be able to make really smart strategic decisions about what's the future look like. What clients do I like? What clients don't I necessarily like? Which do I wish I had more of? Which ones do I wish I had less of? And we'll unpack a little bit more about that later on. But I want to bring us back in time a little bit to what life was like before you started to work with Dream Firms. Just tell us a little bit about some of the things you were working through at that time.
Yeah, there's just so many issues that pop up. I had all these questions, and I didn't have a source to go to try to answer some of the questions, and so I was left spending more time than I wanted to trying to figure things out. I've searched for answers. I didn't always get the right answers, so it's great to have a source to go through that. And basically, the processes I've gone through is so much more improved, because as far as training employees, training myself, as well, on procedures and how to run the business properly. And that's probably the biggest thing that I have. And I think I've told you before that I was looking for answers, and I was going to hire a consultant as another accountant. He was going to help me to figure out some of the things, and it just never worked out. I guess he was too busy, and he didn't seem to have many answers. But I guess it's just part of being a business owner. No matter what business you are in, you're always trying to learn more, trying to improve more, and make life easier for you and affect the bottom line more. So.
Yeah, look, I hear you 100% on that. I find that a lot of people will feel like they've tried coaching in some respect. They may hire a consultant and then realize that consultant doesn't know that much more than they do. And the truth is I don't know more than Craig. It's just I know a different set of things, right? And we want to combine our cumulative expertise of all of our clients, Craig and everyone else we've interviewed, and all of our active clients, because we don't know all of the answers. And when I said check your ego at the door, right? Like that applies when we are inside of the program as well. And we're working through things together and we're saying, well, what's the best solution? Here's what I've seen work really well. Let's see how it applies to your particular situation, because we're pulling from all of these different experiences to give really well-rounded answers. But I'd like to try and maybe get a little bit more specific with a struggle or a hurdle that you were experiencing at that time. I think a lot of people can understand that, like, yeah, we can have better process improvements or efficiencies, but what specifically would you say was an issue you were working through, Craig?
Well, my problem, one of the big problems I had was just delegation of duties. And I said, oh, why am I going to spend, 2 hours training the staff to do something when I can just do it in 30 minutes or less. And it's just a change of mindset for me. Not only so I can get more items off my plate, which is ideal, but I think, to help the employee grow and feel like they're doing more tasks and helping more. And I just think it's beneficial all around. So changing my mindset to be able to offload some items and have to have trust in it's being done properly, because we trained them properly, because we've had our processes in place to make sure it's done right.
And this is a great example, and arguably the most common problem in accounting is we bring the work in and we keep the work to ourselves. And while it may be faster in the short term for you to do it yourself, it is never faster in the long term to take that particular approach. And that's a skill to learn, right? The idea that, wait a minute, I got to slow this down. I got to analyze what is my secret sauce that I feel only I can do, which of course we know is not true. It's just, how did I learn it? How can I make this skill transferable to another team member so that they can do it as if it was just me, even if they take 20, 30, 40, 50, heck, I'll even say 100% longer than the owner to do it themselves. It's still a huge win for you to win back that time so that you can go and create more SOPs, you can do more training, you can work on your marketing, your sales. There's so many skills to develop in entrepreneurship, but if we don't actually take that time to learn that really critical first one, which is, you do this. This is not the best use of my time, right? I'm Craig, I'm the owner. You've got to go and do this. This isn't an ownership level task. We'll never be able to create our dream firms. So you had mentioned a consultant, but I wanted to see if you had invested in anything else prior to dream firms to really help you to grow. I know we've been talking more about winning back your time, which is a prerequisite for growth. But had you tried anything else outside of that consultant, Craig? Because you've been in business for a while.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of purchases of other firms that have helped us grow in smaller size, and generally that's worked out well. A couple, there's always hiccups there, but specifically, we did hire, a firm that was supposed to quote, set us up with appointments and all that. Then they sent us on some appointments that they had made for us, and a lot of them were, wild goose chases. And I remember meeting with one gentleman. He had a small business, and he was concerned he was paying too much taxes. And I said, okay, that's great. So I was looking forward to meeting with him because I figured I was in an area where I can help. But I'm looking at his tax return, and he wasn't paying any income taxes. He was only paying self-employment taxes. So I'm like, it's not, you're not what I'm looking for. I can't help you. So things like that. So live and learn. So the pitches some salesmen promote aren't always good. So the appointments they sent us on weren't valuable to us.
Yeah, and look, there's I always try and set the expectations the right way. And I feel a lot of people want to sell the dream. And while we're dream firms, and we certainly want to quantify what those dreams look like, what that dream client resembles, we also have to set realistic expectations and not live in the dream realm. And so my saying is, you always have to be willing to mine through the dirt to find the gold. But you also don't need to go on wild goose chases to get out there and try and spend time driving around only to find you're talking to someone who thinks they need to pay less in taxes despite they're not paying income tax. Right? Like that's
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to mine that particular pile of gold or that particular piece of dirt. It's just like, it's not really worth anyone's time. We could have done a better discovery ahead of that and save the owner their most precious resource, their time. So, okay, fantastic. And for the people that are watching, they're normally watching because they're curious about the results we generate for our clients. But I like to also be very clear about why you started to work with us. We just talked about what happens when someone promises, some crazy outcome, and then we're met with a harsh reality of something that doesn't live up to it. But what was really the defining reason for why you decided to work with us, Craig? What set us apart? What really said, this is something I got to do?
Yeah, and I think your initial advertisement is for the introverted accountant, and that's my label through and through. So I was like, okay, how can I how can I gain and attract more business? I'm not a salesman. I'm not going to talk fast or promise the world to people. That's just not my DNA. I'm just a handshake type of person. Say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and I'm not going to put high pressure sales on any potential client, and I don't want to do that. So again, developing how to go about doing that as far as following up with potential clients, the processes with that, and how to go back that with a checklist of A, B, C, and D. This is how you do it. Has been very, very helpful to go through it. And it's been education for me to say, okay, this is what I do, and I need to explain it properly to a would-be prospect. Whereas before I was probably selling myself short and not explaining, what all they're going to get for their investment in my firm. And to give you an example with that, I know we've talked before when we started about, I said, one of the items that I'll do is I'll prepare a sales tax return for you. And Tyler, you and I walk through, okay, this is what I do. Okay, so I need to explain it better, all the steps that I need to do to show them how their sales tax is being prepared, so they don't think, oh, it's just a simple click of a button. There's a lot of, lot of work that's going into it, something specific for their, their business that they need to be made aware of. And it's just a matter of communicating that properly. So that's tremendous that I've been able to work on my own mindset first and foremost.
Well, there's there's so much to pull from that answer, and I want to help everyone understand a little bit more of the nuance and how that applies to them. Again, even if you don't work with us, doesn't impact me or Craig one way or the other. But here's the takeaways, right? As an entrepreneur, you're always responsible for growing three things: your network, your mindset, and your skill set. And Craig literally referenced basically all three of those things during that answer. The other thing that he brought up that's very interesting, but it was more applied to him, but it's also part of what we help people to understand and implement, is that he said, you were speaking to me, right? I'm the introverted accountant. I'm not looking to do these high pressure tactics or sales. And I know that because I've got a really clear, defiant dream client profile, right? I know what they like, what they don't like. I know the terms that they use. And the same thing is applicable back to Craig. And we'll talk about his niche and a little bit about what he's doing in a bit here. The same thing is true for you guys out there that are listening. You go say, wait a minute, what are the terms that they're using? How can I use that to my advantage to get them to understand that I'm listening to you? I know what's going on. I know how to use these as strengths. They're actually not disadvantages. And the last thing that he shared, that again, I think is so critically important here, is that when you are able to change your mindset, you change your actions. And so when you feel stuck, I was speaking to a wonderful person earlier today, and she was referencing the term burnout. And burnout is in direct response. It's a response. It's literally your brain saying, you can't keep going this way. Something has to change. And the first thing that has to change to put burnout off, away, eradicate, destroyed, is you've got to make sure that you've got the end goal in mind. Why am I doing this? Why am I working hard? How can I work smarter? And that's really, again, what we're looking to do here is we're saying, hey, we know who you are. We know what your strengths are. Let's play towards them. Let's not go away from them. Let's talk about the beginning, because whenever you're getting ready to consider a program or any sort of experience, I think the hardest part is, well, yeah, what happens after I sign up? What happens when I really decide to invest in this? So Craig, from what you can remember, and I know we're going back a little while here, but what was it like getting started working with dream firms?
Well, to be honest, it was overwhelming because there was so much information available that that I thought, oh, this is going to help tremendously. Going through what you call the training or whatever the programs, and it's all so valuable and all can play an important part in the growing of a business or the improvement of a business. And it's all laid out and it's well thought out. And so many of the questions that you may have are there's answers there that can help you move forward in the right direction. So sometimes you got to pick and choose. Okay, I'm going to focus on this first before you move on to the next topic. So there's so many resources available, even now that I have to pick and choose everything that is valuable, and just try to, sometimes I have to play catch up on some things that I missed if you're doing a presentation to someone else or a topic that I missed. So many sources of education that's provided.
And that may seem intimidating to some people, but here's the crux of that, is that it's comprehensive. And what we want to do is we want to be clear about what is the highest priority problem to solve. What's the biggest problem facing your business? A lot of people come to us and they go, I need more leads, Tyler. And then we analyze their time and they barely have 30 minutes to talk about the program that's going to change their life. And I go, you can't even take another lead right now. Your schedule is so out of whack, right? The priority on your time is totally broken. You've got team members that aren't being as nearly as productive as they could be. So we got to talk about management. We got to talk about delegation before we can even get into the exciting part of dream client acquisition and building up the firm in a different way. We got to fire some bad clients. So again, the key here is it's comprehensive, and it's not meant to be, here's the box, force you into the box. It's what do you need, and what's the appropriate resource, system, person, company to get you plugged into that will solve this problem significantly faster than you would need to worry about on your own. What do you enjoy most about working with us, Craig?
Well, again, it's just a source for answers to any questions that I have, and your program is just not limited to, okay, you got to have this type of business to have the program work. I mean, if you're a person that does all tax work, it can work. If it's all, if you're dealing with specific types of clients, if you're dealing with larger clients than mine, it's going to work. If I told you tomorrow, I said, hey, I'm going to totally change my business and say, I want to focus on auditing. I want to find some clients that I could do audits for, which would be the worst thing for me. But if I wanted to do it, the program can work too. So, when we, have the people, think about the people that are in our group coaching, there's so many different types of firms, and, pretty much, anybody can benefit from them, whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for 25 years, you can improve.
Exactly. And you said this earlier, and I loved it, which is about self-improvement and being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is the ultimate test for self-improvement. It's literally, if you're not getting better each and every single day, and I like to make the example, if you're just 1% better every day, you're like some crazy amount better within a year from now. I can't remember the number off my head. It's like 300 times better. And it's like, because of the way math stacks and how our brains can't really comprehend percentages. Point is yes, you can get, if this program is for everyone, but it's really for the people that understand that I'm here to get better. I'm here to check my ego at the door, learn something. I can learn something from Craig. Everyone can learn something from Craig, just like Craig can learn something from everybody in our community, because we're very open about sharing best practices so that our lives are a lot easier. Now, this question's a little bit of a curveball, Craig, so I'm going to apologize in advance, but it was from an older interview and I really liked it. So I'm going to keep it. So you can take a minute to think about your answer if you'd like. Craig, what is your superpower?
My superpower. I don't know. I think I just try to listen to my clients and try to solve their problems. And sometimes it's it's a curse too, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm not the best person for this, but I try to do it anyway. So I really enjoy working with my clients and want to help them to the best that I can. Sometimes I end up putting more work in because it's not something I'm used to dealing with, but I'm going to do my best to help them.
Listening. That was the first thing you said, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah. You are an excellent listener. You're someone who always is willing to, again, hear other opinions. And when it comes to the client side, I know how hard you work. I know the service delivery that you provide to your clients and how seriously you take it. So it doesn't surprise me that was the first thing that you said, but great answer. I love it. So we're going to get into a little bit more of like the technical side of just what has been accomplished in your business. But before we do that, we had a question come in on the chat, and I thought we would address it maybe a little bit earlier, but we haven't had a chance. Everyone knows that we're very big on this concept of niche. And everyone's heard the expression, the riches are in the niches, depending on how you pronounce it, niche or niche. That expression may or may not work. But what is your niche, and what was your driving reason for selecting and picking that particular category?
Yeah, so I selected my niche of contractors, and I'm looking at plumbers, electricians, HVAC people, and people just in general construction. And I guess I arrived at that because I looked at my client roster and say, okay, of my best clients who I like to work with most, what are they? What kind of businesses are they in? What's the size of their business? And that was really the determining factor in it. So luckily, my client base didn't have a ton of jerks in that in that niche there. So, and again, I work, still work with a bunch of different businesses. So I could have gone some different ways because I do like to work with different businesses. There's a few businesses that I don't like to work with, and I try to avoid it. But sometimes you can't do that. Can't always do that. So
It's important to understand what we don't want as much as what we do want. And, I think some people have this strange idea that when they join our program, I'm going to ask them to take a torch to everyone who's not their niche client and burn all those relationships. Clearly, that's not the case. And Craig is testament to that. This is about a gradual transition to take the firm that we kind of happen to have, maybe some things that we don't like so much, some of the client selection procedures that we wish were maybe a little bit sharper or more enforced or well documented, and then being able to reallocate some of the time we win back to those procedures and to those particular aspects when we do remove the bottom 10%, so that we can work at a higher level with the top 10% or replace them with clients that we wouldn't feel are in the bottom 10%, and ideally have those be in a particular niche category so we're more profitable on the back end. Craig, that I don't apply pressure on this question, but this to me is one that at least gives a little bit of credence and credibility to our program and our services, because people like to talk money, especially accountants. So if you are willing to share, and as always, I never apply pressure on this question because I know it can be sensitive, but how much have you added to your firm and in what time frame?
I guess in the 2 years, it's hard to quantify some things because, quite honestly, I'm bad at the record keeping on that. So, especially in instances where I'm moving up my clients. Okay, if I have a client that I'm doing this work for, I've talked to them, say, hey, you really need to be doing this, and so there's a fee increase along that lines. Or it's just a matter of, okay, I'm doing this for the client and they're not paying for it. I need to adjust their investments that way. So, that's a little bit harder to quantify. But as far as, new clients, bringing on, I think it's probably in the, around the 60,000 mark. And that's probably a low estimate because I'm sure there's ones that I'm not, counting. And for me, that's again, I'm not searching for some of the bigger clients. They're going to have an investment of $40,000 to $50,000 a year. I know some people in our group, that's their target, and that's great. It's just not what I'm searching for, but for me it works. So again, it's all different types of businesses seem to be having success.
Yeah, look, again, everyone's dream firm is defined differently. What makes up your dream client should be different than what makes up someone else's. Someone wants $10,000 a month clients. Some people want 250, 500, 1,000, easily delegatable, smaller clients, smaller problems, easier to replace. I know you came onto the call, group coaching call, I think it was yesterday or the week before, and you picked up a $1,000 per month client, right? So the goal here is we're going to keep building momentum. And the one thing that I always like to make clear is that growth is, it's not like this, right? Everyone seems to think that, when I join a program, like I'm just going to go like this. But many of our clients, yeah, they will grow, but then they have to level off, right? And then they can spike back up again. And in the one thing that never shows up on the balance sheet, right, is like the owner's time and how much they're investing previously as opposed to currently. Because if we have successfully, and I know we have with Craig in many respects, gotten significantly better at delegation, management, setting client expectations, making sure that they're paying for new services, well, the owner is going to have more profit, maybe not huge top line revenue growth, because we're also subtracting out lower level clients at the same time. So again, there's a lot of trade-offs, but the goal is it's always going to be a net win when we are winning back our time and we're elevating how many high value clients we bring in. Craig, what would you say to someone considering our services right now?
Well, I don't know what their hesitation is, but I think it's worth the effort to invest the time in the program. I mean, the money too, but the time's the biggest issue for everybody, and I think somebody would get a benefit from it in many different ways. It's not always going to be as far as adding clients that you can easily recognize, but it's a matter of doing things more efficiently, more effectively. And we've talked before. I would work most days, the weekends too. So I've kind of scaled back on that mostly. And how do you quantify taking back 8 hours on the weekends? I mean, it's tough to do. So but it's definitely a benefit for you to win back your time, and that's probably more valuable than some of the revenues that you're going to bring in. So going through any work that I do, I'm always asking, okay, how can we do this better? How can we do it more efficiently? And what's the process we can make better to do it? As far as if you don't have staff, if you can add staff, there's paths to do that. So
yeah, and it's a fantastic point, right? And you're not the only client I have that was struggling to find time on the weekend for themselves before they started to work with us. And that, there's an old joke that's unfortunately more true than it has to be. An entrepreneur is someone who works 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And that's a kind of a sad joke. And the reason it's partially funny is because of how true it is. But it doesn't have to be true. Yeah, in the beginning, you may need to put in some more hours to get things in place. You may need to put in a few more hours to be able to change the way you're thinking and to change the way things are operating. But then all of a sudden you get these new results and you may win back your Saturdays. You may win back your entire weekend. I've talked to clients that have not had weekends for years, which is it's crazy to think about. And Craig, I just want to say how happy I am that you're able to now win back more of your time way more consistently to prioritize your family and yourself. And that's exactly the way it should be. And if that's all we accomplished, not including the 60K in revenue, not including all the other things, I know that that's a net win for us. So congratulations on that.
Yeah. And we talked in our group yesterday and I said, okay, I was on vacation for a week and, the updates I got from the staff were, okay, this is being done, not, oh my, what do we do? There was no fires to put out. It was just updates on how things were going. And that's much better, I think, because we have, and I've allowed them to do more work on their own, so they're feeling like they can accomplish more tasks on their own. And as I said, money still came into the bank account. So when I was away, so that's the key.
That's the dream, right? Like money still came into the bank account while I was away on vacation. We said this on the group yesterday as well, but sometimes we overstate or overbelieve the importance we have to our own organization after we work so hard to make ourselves a little less relevant to it. And then we go on vacation and we imagine all these terrible things are happening, but in reality, nothing bad has happened. It's run just the way it needs to and the way it should, without the owner's direct involvement to ultimately maintain. Now, to push it further, of course, it's your business. We're going to need to do a little bit more. But let's we got really 4 questions left. We got about 10 minutes to answer them, and then we've got a bunch of questions streaming in here. So I want to advance this call just a little bit here. Why do you consider this one of the best investments you've made in your business?
Well, it's just, you know, I think it provides a roadmap to be successful. And there's many avenues that you know, we haven't even talked about. And I'm gonna give you one example that I really, when I wrote down, I said, well, I'm gonna talk about this, and we probably should talk about it more. But the fact that one of our biggest assets is going to be our business. And when we go to sell the business, you know, how do we create the most amount of value for that? And again, if something happens to me, if I always tell the staff, I say, well, if I get hit by a bus, you need to know how to do this. And that, you know, that's true. So, you know, what are we going to do? I mean, Mrs. Craig isn't going to come in and run an accounting firm. So if we have processes in place, we can preserve the value of the business. And, you know, I've really, you know, trying to focus on that, because, you know, anything can happen. And, you know, if it's going to be a lot of money, and we don't want to lose that. I've bid on accounting practices where the owner died unexpectedly. And it's just a fire sale, and you're going to get pennies on the dollar, and we don't want that. So I think by coming up with the processes we put in place, you know, something can continue if, God forbid, something happens to us unexpectedly. So if somebody's just working on their own, it's going to be harder to do that. But if you have the processes in place, you know, I think we can preserve what may be our biggest asset.
It's a point that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. And it is one of the major determinants in the multiple of the firm: well-trained staff that follow procedures, well-trained clients, where the owner is not offsetting their lack of productivity by working 80 hours a week and killing themselves to just keep the firm running. And then again, to your point, and I want to bring in something that might sound a little bit morbid, but I also think it puts things into perspective. Every year, if you're somewhat normal, you kind of look forward to your birthday, right? But at the same time, every year you pass over the date of your passing and you do not know it. And for some reason, once I read that, I was like, that's an interesting just thought, where it's like, you've passed over the day, you just don't know what day it's going to be. And if you start to behave in a way that, when you recognize, like, my firm, my business is such an important asset to the livelihood of my closest family members, you start to act and behave differently. That says, wait a minute, if I weren't here, all of a sudden, I need to protect this in a way that makes this sellable in the event of something that is untimely. But it's a very astute point, Craig, and I'm glad that we've helped position your firm in that manner. What has surprised you the most when it came to growing your firm?
You know, probably the areas that I personally needed to work on, the improvements I needed to make. I mean, I think maybe I knew them all along. I just avoided them. And again, that's just a process to where you say, okay, I know I need to do it, and just gotta, how do we change this, and how do we do it how do we make the change as easy as possible? And I think there's a roadmap for that. It doesn't have to be all at once.
Exactly. You follow the process, and there are no secrets, right? Everyone likes to use the term secrets. We use it sometimes because, quite frankly, it invokes a certain idea in the mind. But most of you know what to do. You know what needs to be done, but for one reason or another, you're not doing it. You're not doing it yet. But when you all of a sudden have peers like Craig, like myself, that are doing the things that you know are possible and that will greatly benefit you, and then you also know how, and you're seeing the benefits every single week from the people who are doing exactly what you believe or know you should, all of a sudden you have all of this actual motivation. I don't really love that term. You have all these reasons to do the things that you've always said and known you need to do, but now you start doing them and now you get the benefits. Perfectly said, Craig. One last question, and we got a couple of Q&As coming in here. So if you've got questions for Craig, myself, drop them down below and we'll be more than happy to address them. Who would you recommend the Create Your Dream Firm program to? You know how closely knit we are. You understand the quality of the people that are in our program. But when you think of who deserves to be in here, what comes to mind, Craig? Who do you believe would benefit from this?
Well, I think, generically somebody that's open-minded and willing to take the next step and realize that there's improvements that need to be made in your firm, no matter how long you've been in business. There's room for improvements for everyone. If I was starting out, I'd say, oh, I have to do this because my background was not working in an accounting firm. I don't know what to do. So yeah, so if you're just starting out in the business, definitely it's a must add. But again, if you've been around for a while, there's still areas to improve. Whether you think you know it or not, you may say, oh, well, I've been paying myself for 10 years, everything's going fine. Well, maybe it could be better. That's just the attitude that I have, and I don't think there's one specific type of person that could work for it. They can work for a lot of people.
I really appreciate you saying that, but the main thing is check your ego at the door. Treat us right the way you would want someone to treat you as a service provider, right? If someone comes to you and go, oh, this is the way I want to do my taxes, this is the way I want to do my tax, I know what's best, like that's not going to work. You know that relationship is a problem. You're coming in here to have an open mind, to be able to change things because you know it's not as efficient and it's not as profitable as it otherwise could be if you just, again, open your mind to the possibilities. But fantastic. Thank you so much, Craig. We've got Q&A as right now. So I think it looks like Eric caught the opener here. And you've been paying attention to the baseball playoffs. Yeah, Craig, a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
What did you think my Phillies got a chance to come back? Eric said, huge baseball fan myself, go Phillies. So I wanted to just talk shop. You think they got a chance? Because I was surprised we didn't even get a run yesterday. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean that's the playoffs. You're going to have those games that are tightly pitched, and I think they can't have the staff that can win a couple of games. So especially this shorter series, I think it's definitely possible.
Who you got winning it all?
It's, I guess it's hard not to pick against the Yankees. I think they have the best lineup and they may have the best staff in my opinion, but anything can happen. They haven't won in a while, so.
That's what makes October special. Agreed. Merrick says, love the family angle, Craig. I'm looking to pass this along to my son in the future. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for joining us, Merrick. Jeff says, do you run into any issues selling your services when people realize you're not a CPA? I've been worried about that because you're an EA, correct, Craig? I just wanted to make sure I said that correctly in the beginning because I don't want to misrepresent anybody.
Yeah, that's that's, if they have an issue with that, then they're not going to be the right client. I focus on, some tax issues, so it hasn't been a problem with that. If I'm not going to do any audit work, so there's no issues with that. If they're looking for something and I'm not it, that's just next.
Yeah. Perfectly said. Next, right? Some will, some won't. So what? And Jeff, just to echo Craig's feedback here, one of the things that I always try and keep in mind is the CPA designation, while more widely recognizable, there's only certain services that require it, and the vast majority of people don't need them. So if you just take an extra minute to educate them on that, like Craig was just talking about.
Yeah. And I do tax work for CPAs. Yeah. If they work at XYZ company and that's what they do, and they may not work in the accounting field. But that's fine.
Yeah. Again, if you have a good story like that, well, CPAs give me their tax work, right? Like they're going to be like, oh, okay. I guess I should give you my tax work as well. So
yeah, it just depends on what type of work they do. They're not into tax work, and that's fine.
Absolutely. I got something from Liam here. He says, another awesome interview, Tyler. And thank you for sharing, Craig. Do you have any availability before the end of the year to work with me? Liam, hopefully, yes. And what I mean by that is we got slots filling up. We're not a take all comers type of firm. We have very limited availability. If you'd like to explore that availability, my lovely co-founder and wife was kind enough to put the link in the chat to book a call. You'll speak directly with me, and we'll make sure that you are a good fit for what we've got, Liam. So again, just book a call. Let's have the conversation. We'd love to learn a little bit about you. Elise says,
yeah, for 15 minutes, you get so much out of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig.
Might as well take 15 minutes. Yeah.
Especially it's free, right? Yeah. So book a call. I'll learn about you. We can pivot a little bit. If that's all that comes from it, it'll be a net win for you in Q4. Elise says, please call me to discuss more. Elise, I would love to, but I don't play phone tag. I consider it to be the worst use of time imaginable. The only way that we can speak to each other is through a book call. So I'm just going to beg you, please book the call through the link, and we would love to talk to each other. Tony, great wins. Love the emphasis on team building and efficiencies. Didn't realize dream firms had that in your bag of tricks. Yes, Tony. While we love to talk about dream client acquisition systems, you can't necessarily acquire more clients if we don't have the back end piece running the right way, and we emphasize the heck out of that. Jen says, I don't have a team yet, so everything depends on me. I would love to have money to come in while I'm on vacation. How do I learn more about working with dream firms? Again, link in the chat, Jen, just to be clear. We'd love for you to take vacation as well and have money coming in like Craig. It's really not that difficult. Just got to put the right things in place, and we'll love to help you to do that. Stuart, I'm really having a hard time selecting a niche. Can you tell me what steps you went through to identify the right one for you? Now, Craig, we covered this a little bit already, but just very quickly, basically analyze your client base, right?
Yeah, I was looking at who I was dealing with and who I liked working with. That's key. Who I like working with, who causes the least amount of headaches, who's going to take my word, take my advice most seriously, and that usually helps narrow it down.
Yep, it's really not that complex, but if you need more of a structured approach than Craig's answered, then book the call. Again, like, we're masters at dream client identification, so we'd love to do that. I've got Kelly. My pricing is all over the place. How did you capture more revenue, Craig? I get so much pushback from my clients. Do you find that there's pushback in these conversations, or has it been a lot easier once you just explain what's going on?
Yeah, again, just outline, say, hey, we're doing this, and this, we're doing more services than you're paying for. We need to adjust the relationship. And usually there's not an issue when they see the facts presented to them. If there is an issue, then next, okay.
Yeah,
it's okay to fire clients.
Thank you, Craig. You literally took the words out of my mouth. It's okay for them to leave. It's okay for this to not if it's not profitable for you, Kelly, there's no reason to maintain the relationship anyway. And keep in mind, lower supply of accountants, less people coming in, more people exiting the industry, higher level of demand for accounting services, basic economics, supply and demand. Prices need to go up. People aren't willing to accept that. I promise you, someone will, right? Like, and if you need help finding the person who will accept it, you know the deal. Book a call. Would love to speak to you as well. Rob, your roadmap sounds exactly like what I need. I know there are a lot of things that I need that need to be done, but have no idea where to start and exactly how to do it. When can I get started working with you? So our next availability, assuming I've got 2 people that may end up taking the final slots, but hop on the calendar, Rob. November 7th is the next available opportunity to work with us. So again, would love to have you be potentially one of those people that takes one of the last remaining slots that we have. Jimmy, I work with my father and it's definitely been a challenge. Any advice for someone else in that father-son dynamic on and how to make it work? What do you say, Craig? Anything else?
Yeah, just be open and honest, but not everybody, can see that way, because it's if you have stubborn personalities, they may clash, and you just got to deal with it. So you got to evaluate whether it's still the right thing for you.
I'll put a little bit extra on that. A couple deep breaths, right? Just understand that your relationship with your father is more important than any business decision. If you've got a strong will or a strong desire, take a couple deep breaths, try and re-explain it from a different perspective. But again, just take your time. That's the main thing. Life is long, and you only get one father and one mother. James, wonderful interview. Thank you, Tyler and Craig. Thank you, James. Carl, book my call for Monday. Super excited to create my dream firm. Carl, can't wait to speak with you. Hopefully you will be able to do so. Stuart, awesome. Thank you for the feedback. Booking my call now. Looking forward to speaking with you as well, Stuart. And Oliver, talk to you on Monday. Just booked my call. Fantastic. Well, listen, that brings us to the top of the hour. Craig, do you have any parting wisdom or anything at all that you'd like to say before we part ways here?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's not sure, and it sounds like there's some people that aren't sure. I mean, what's the harm in getting 15-minute call with you to say, hey, this is where I'm at. What can you do? And guarantee there'll be opportunities for improvements that you'll find. Really
appreciate you saying that, Craig. Appreciate you being one of my dream clients. For everyone else, if you are ultimately looking to accelerate on your path to your dream firm, the link is going to be floating around somewhere down below. Do me a favor, click that link and take action today, because your dream firm will not wait forever. My name is Tyler S. Clark. This is Dream Firm leader Craig Rossetti. Thank you so much for investing your most precious time with us. And remember that only you can create your dream firm like Craig Rossetti, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your workday. And again, thank you so much, Craig. I will talk to you all very, very soon.